And we're live. Is a hammer better at anything than an axe?
Nails.
They got armor.
I knew nails was coming as soon as it went in my mouth.
Yeah, I don't know.
If they're wearing armor.
You think it's better with armor? Because it's just weight based at that point, right? Would an axe hit just as hard if it was the same weight?
Yeah, if it was the same weight, but you'd need an enormous axe to make the same weight as a hammer, you know. I think those war hammers were blunt on one side and pointy on the other, and they were meant to like pierce through.
Oh, if they're spiky on the other side. I think I like that side for hitting people.
Yeah, it depends what they're wearing, right? Or where you're hitting them. You hit them in the head, you use that blunt side because it doesn't matter. You're fucking
hit them with any side.
Killing them. You hit them with either side. Yeah, it's not gonna go well.
I would not have if I was in like medieval war or whatever. I don't know like how much of an option you received on like what class of weapon you got. They probably just assigned you bullshit, like a pitchfork if you were poor or a serf. But I would not want to go with a war hammer. That seems
I think you
like
brought your own weapon. I don't know. Maybe I meant this up in my own head. Kyle?
It depends what war and what like age we're talking about, right? Like we're talking about like the English, for example, like medieval times, or like when they're fighting the Scottish, right? Like they had a professional army at that point when they're fighting the Scots, and you had like longbow archers, you had cavalry, and you had swordsmen, but mostly archers and cavalry.
Because I think maybe the Scots are the side I'm thinking of.
Oh,
where they just bring like farm, like I use a torch, I use a pitchfork. Why did you choose a pitchfork?
It's pointy stick I found. I rubbed a bit of dog shit on it.
That'll scare it.
The English hate dog shit. Seriously though, I would hate to have to fight a man with a pointy stick with dog shit on it in medieval times. It's instant death. It's instant death.
I would be Nick Diaz in that situation. I'd be like, I'm insulted that you brought a pointy stick with dog shit to the fight.
I would be so terrified by a hairy Scotsman with a pointy stick covered in dog shit. Like that sounds so scary.
But you in this scenario, you're an Englishman on what ends up being the winning side of that fight. So you would probably have like chainmail at least, right? Something to keep the poo stick away.
The poo stick. I think that shit's expensive. I think that shit was real fucking expensive for the
dog
time.
Poo, it's free. It's everywhere. You can just take it. Kyle, if you need some, I got to hook up. I have Great Danes.
Hook you up. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the age you're talking about, the army you're talking about. It was all different. But yeah, there were definitely some of those armies that were just like, bring whatever you got. We got to go. And then there were those armies that were like, yeah, everybody gets a gladius. They're all made to order, like the Romans, for example. You know, they all had those fucking, I don't know how long they were, but they're short. Those swords they use, short the gladius.
Swords, and they had like, I have a book about like the kind of the like tiered organization of the Roman military, like throughout the ages, and it's like wild how it wasn't until like thousands of years later that humanity got back to like that level of complexity and warfare, where like you'll read about like fucking battles in like the year 1100 and it's like, oh, well, that's fucking being generous, like 700 years, from the fall of Rome-ish. That obviously wasn't Rome's peak, the fall. Still not even close. Like just bullshit tactics, not nearly as advanced.
Okay. Counterpoint. Mm-hmm. Are you sure bullshit non-advanced tactics are worse? Like, let's name all the guerrilla warfare that is lost.
Well, that's different. That's completely different. Like the Romans would conquer countries, right? Like guerrilla warfare is its own animal. Like they had that's the whole problem they had with Hannibal. Like coming over the mountains with the fucking elephant, the Carthaginian. But whenever they would face someone, the Romans, just the way they broke down their army, right, like in a very modern kind of way, we really copy the way that they broke their army down into segments and smaller groups and everything. Yeah, and the way they equipped their army was the way you equip a professional army in modern times. Like nobody's going into the Marine Corps and like, hey, what kind of gun did you bring? I got my daddy's 30-06. Oh, that's cool. I got a Coon shotgun. We've been like nobody's
22. No. It was literally like
we all get an M4. Like we all get the same ammo. Like, and
this
that's what the
army you're describing lost in Vietnam, right? Now, I was listening to a soldier tell stories about his Vietnam experience, and he gets to Vietnam and he's really surprised they're not like throwing rose petals at him and stuff. Like he's there to liberate them from the bad guys, and he was invisible. He didn't get any attention. He didn't get any love. Yeah. And then what happens is he's like, we would see like 2 soldiers a month. Meanwhile, we would take like 75, 80 casualties a week And before long, it's just, we don't know who the bad guys even are. They're all of them. All of them. Everyone who looks Vietnamese is a bad guy because someone's killing my men. So, like, one guy looks at him sideways from a village and they call in an airstrike and burn the whole village. And that's just the relationship we have with everybody now. But that village won, right? That we ended up.
Well, not that one in particular, but
the village, the guerrilla warfare, they can't like conquer anything. They can defend, but they can't conquer.
Yeah, and that was like kind of the difference. And I think what Kyle and I was saying with the Roman army, like Rome was the first like giant empire that actually had a standing army. Like every
the Revolutionary War.
Well, that was way
kind
after
of guerrilla
Rome.
Tactics that. Okay, I'm aware.
That's defense again, right? Like they're defending what's essentially their homeland against what's
like
essentially
the reason Rome did so well was because of organization, and because like when Rome sent in legionnaires, that was that guy's job. He was a fighter, and like he'd walk into some Germanic area that they were looking to conquer, and all the German tribes were like, fuck it, that guy grab an axe, you're a butcher, grab a cleaver, like, and that's why they were so good at conquering. And also they were way better than we are at utilizing our military, like just raw force of labor. Because when the Roman army wasn't off conquering and fighting, and they would shift out constantly to keep fresh people in, like they would go build roads. And what did those roads do? They made it so they could transport their army and like all their resources faster than any empire in world history across the fucking Mediterranean, so they could respond so quickly.
So I'm not sure about the Romans, but like Genghis Khan did very well because being conquered wasn't so bad. Suddenly they went from like some sort of royalty-based family system to a meritocracy. And if you got conquered by Genghis Khan, then, you might be better off than you were beforehand.
Genghis Khan gave you two options, just like the Hittites would. And one of them was being conquered, and one of them was surrendering, and the other was always horrific. It was always just horrific. The thing is,
surrendering wasn't bad.
Surrender
like
wasn't bad.
Better off if you surrender. He could come in there, and now you get free healthcare.
That was true of the Romans as well,
right?
I mean, lots of Visigoths
than their organizational structure.
Yeah, plenty of Visigoths and Celts, I'm sure, were just like, yeah, it sounds like a deal. You guys have roads, huh? That's cool. What kind of gods you got? Interesting. But
and they would give them jobs. They'd be like, oh, you'll be an auxiliary force in the Roman army, so you'll get like a little bit of money too. Yeah. And it's our currency, and we're the
warfare
biggest
throughout the ages is really fascinating. There's so many good YouTube channels for that. I watch hours of that shit. I like that stuff a lot. Yeah, Genghis Khan was a scary fucker. Just real brutal stuff. The boiling of people alive and crushing them with weights and stuff slowly, and just all sorts of just really tactics.
All of our execution methods seem pretty generous and nice compared to what they did back in the day with like crucifixion and the bronze bull. And what was it?
What's the bronze bull?
That's where you go ahead.
So they had this big bronze bull, and they would put a person inside of it. It's hollow, and
like
it was
made
made
in Wall Street, kind of like
just like that, except they'd make a fire underneath it to slowly cook you alive, and your screaming would be projected through the nostrils of the bull, and it would sound like a bull roaring, because bulls like coming through, like almost like making a wind instrument out of the oven that was cooking you.
Good golly. Now, a lot of these at least some of these tortures you find out are just kind of rumors and didn't happen. Did this happen?
True.
This happened, yeah.
There was some like the Iron Maiden that was like made up.
That's the
one where it's like the scary, like, oh, they put you in this casket and then they closed the spikes on you. It was just kind of instant and messy, I guess, like a huge pain in the ass for the executioner. But this other one is called scaphism. It's from
we've done the boats many times.
Oh, we've done that? Okay. Scaphism's fucked up. Look that up.